Today, I'm going to share with you how to heal the generation gap, which is preventing us from truly addressing climate change. I'm G.K. Hunter, founder of Gen Unison, a nonprofit that's bridging the generation gap and bringing our youth and elder together to stabilize our communities. And while we're in the era of climate change, there is a problem of the generation gap. The generation gap is when someone from an older generation and a younger generation have different values, different opinions about what we should do next, and most importantly, different priorities. One of the ways that we can measure this generation gap are through public polls. One of them discovered that our teenagers and 20-year-olds, which are sometimes called Gen Z, have the highest level of climate anxiety than any other older generation. They're growing up in a world that's increasingly unstable with natural disasters, and they're scared. The emotional impact on Gen Z is more than those who are in their 30s and 40s, millennials, those who are in their 50s, Gen X, those who are in their 60s and 70s, baby boomers, and the silent generation who are in their 80s and 90s now. Another poll by Pew Research Center also found that Gen Z and millennials, that means teenagers, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, almost 3/4 of them felt that climate change was the #1 priority for our society. But when you looked at people who are 60 and older, just over half believed that climate change was the #1 issue. If we can't agree on what the top priority is, especially when this many hurricanes, wildfires, droughts, heat waves, natural disasters just keep increasing. If we're not all on the same page there, that shows a difference in priorities between the older generations and the younger generations. This is how we can see the generation gap is happening. But it's deeper than that. Listen to what Kalalapa Winter, a community organizer, said at a United Nations Child Rights Conference.
I also believe very sincerely that children and youth are tired of being lied to and tired of not being taken seriously. And I think that if you're thinking about the best way to approach climate justice with children is to be honest with them. Okay, so in Hawaii we have a concept of being net zero by 2045. And we give these dates and we give these numbers, and we give these decrees that it's like we are not honest. We're lying and giving an implication that we have all of this time and we don't.
Our youth are telling us that there's less trust. I was born on the cusp of Gen X and millennials, which means I grew up in the 80s and 90s. My entire life, I knew about global warming. And I watched as climate change boiled over to become today's climate crisis. So I understand when people in their teens and 20s look at their elders and they feel that we're failing. They have such fear and resentment about inheriting a world that is increasingly unstable. And being of the middle generations, I also know many people from the baby boomer generation and silent generation, people who are there in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, who are fighting every day so that our youth will have a chance.
The climate crisis is already with us.
We are not only not on course, we are dangerously off course. Our children and grandchildren will not have a safe world unless we act now and act together.
This is a crucial moment for all of humanity. Leaders must deliver on the promises of the Paris Climate Agreement.
Every country and every town and city and every community has to move more ambitiously.
Gen Unison's mission is to bring intergenerational teams together from younger generations to older generations so we can prepare our communities with meaningful projects. Some of the community-based projects that are already happening out in the world include creating new ponds to store water. This prevents drought and it helps crops, and it also offers a layer of protection around our communities from wildfires. Other projects include installing solar panels on top of our schools to prevent power outages. And probably my favorite project is when we start intergenerational gardens, where young kids start gardens with their grandparents and the whole family gets involved. There's nothing more rewarding than growing your own fresh vegetables and then sharing that with your family and your community. Our process begins at genunison.com, our social media website. There you'll find our blog, as well as some generational guides to understand the formative events behind each of the generations. But more importantly, you can join our social media platform. There on the Gen Unison platform, you can post videos, photos, blogs. Gen Unison also offers online support groups via Zoom. We have healing circles by Zoom, and this is a place where people can get support, but also an opportunity for people from different generations to clear the air and build trust with each other. On genunison.com, we also have a mentor matching service, which gives you access to people that have funding, knowledge, and skill sets that you might need to make sure that you have a successful project. Every day I ask myself, is this the best we can do? Is this our best effort? We can do better. By organizing people through projects on Gen Unison, by sharing documentaries and content of success stories, we build positive momentum that's changing communities one at a time. There are many positive success stories happening out there, and Gen Unison is a place to immerse yourself in support and success. Come visit us at genunison.com and find out what your neighbors may already be doing.